Andy Liddle is a well-known UK-based lighting designer who's working worldwide and enjoying a remarkable career lighting artists like the Chemical Brothers, OMD and many more. He's worked for 40 years on the road with the electronic innovators New Order, and he's also known for his dry and sarcastic wit, which has raised many a smile, including that of the On Location team, who chatted to Andy about how he got started, his early influences and working over the years at one of his favourite music events, Glastonbury Festival. So, how do you know this location?
I know this wonderful village of Old Dalby in the Leicestershire countryside when I was an apprentice back in the 79 into 80 at the Army Base 35th Central Workshops Remy, just down the road from here, just past that tree that almost killed me when I came off an old BSA C15 on that corner there and slid all the way along the road into the bench that used to be around the bottom of it, demolishing half of it. I didn't do the other half, I promise. It was a lovely old bike until I got a hold of it. It was still in its Royal Mail livery with the killer number plate along the front mudguard, which would totally write off any pedestrian you happened to clip at the time.
So just as well he hit the tree then?
Yes. Yeah, big scrape on the oil tank, but nonetheless managed to right the thing and carry on. It must have been about, well, we started at 7:30 in the morning, so it would have been about 7:15 or probably 7:30, which is why I came off.
What were you actually doing?
I was a civilian apprentice for the MOD, going towards radar and missile guidance after doing my initial 6 months on all trades in that building over there.
What, number 18?
No,
Oh.
That's the old fire station.
Right.
That block of sheds over there, block 3 was the apprentice training centre amongst other things. And where we're sitting now, this is block 2 of the base, originally built in 1934, and this is now the home of Encore, formerly Hawthorns, and in between PSAV for a short time. So,
how did your interest in lighting and touring first start?
like many others, I was running a mobile disco at the age of 14, which there is a picture somewhere of some very, very bad hair, the worst mullet that there was in 76, that turned into a PA system. Why couldn't I do gigs on Saturdays sometimes? Because I was working in theatre. And do I sound in theatre? No, I was doing lighting. Could I get some lights? So the next thing I knew, I had a fine collection of scrap metal and broken glass by way of old Strand fixtures, pulsar control, then later a rank Strand Mini 2 and Mini 2 racks. Loughborough Town Hall had the Charnwood Theatre in it in the late 70s, and a lot of shows started coming through there. I was working there from the age of 14 as a wine waiter, which you could be back then.
A wine waiter?
Exploitation of youth, you know.
Well, you weren't even old enough to drink?
No, not old enough to drink, but old enough to be an apprentice sommelier. So it's, you know, probably where my love of wine started as well. So, but seconded by the much panicked stage manager, Jeff Haley, God rest his soul, and David Moore, who I saw in South Africa some years ago, who was the assistant stage manager, and also Richard Staniforth, who went on to Channel 4 Wales. So I think about 76 or 77, 14, 15, I did my first loading and immediately started running around, helping, getting involved wherever I could, cups of tea to monitor engineers, one being a lovely, lovely man called John Roden. He was doing monitors for Squeeze, I think it was at the time, that could well be. And he explained to me how it all worked with rental companies, you know, providing sound and lighting equipment. It not belonging to the band, as many people think it doesn't, and a lot of audience still don't realise the ins and outs and how the whole thing works, unfortunately, which is why we're lacking in support and lobbying, maybe, in this present pandemic. Pete Curry was an enormous influence on me, taught me an awful lot. Primarily a little bit of rigging. I knew desks and dimmers and control already, and touring technique.
And around about that time also you had your first tour ever, didn't you, with New Order?
Yeah, they were the band that nobody else wanted to touch at Light and Sound Design in Birmingham at the time. John Holt had been looking after them, and he ran off to do the UB40. and I was just looking after them for 3 weeks.
And 40 years later?
I did see John Sadley at another funeral, Robert Gambino's. Again, God rest the man's soul, he was great. And did ask him if I could call the gig mine, and he seemed to intimate that I could maybe now. 3 weeks and 40 years and 3 weeks on, so.
Over your career, you've had just an absolute trove of experience. You've worked with many, many bands all over the world. Too many to mention in this interview, but I know you've also done a lot of festivals, and I know that Glastonbury has been one of your favourites. And how many Glastonburys have you done?
I don't know.
You've lost count.
I was trying to work it out. I think the first time I stepped onto the hallowed ground would have been 80 something.
What are your most memorable couple of Glastos?
There's a few of them, focusing 2 7.5 tonners, which Martin Lebac put together for us, which had 4 Irius Pro Space Cannons, curtain-sided trailers, and actually positioning them off the back corners of the pyramid stage to give a nice fan, but also be able to flip them round onto the tree line behind the pyramid stage. So that was good, firing up through the, I think it might have been the first, what did they used to call those PA? The Triffids, were they the PA towers that they had in that year? I don't know if they're still there or what, but it was firing up through those. I can't remember what year it was. I think there was 3 Chemical Brothers shows I did on the pyramid stage over, it might have been 2 or 3, but one of the years doing that. That was great fun. I had one year that was particularly horrible year, which was the 96 or 97 one, where I was in the dance tent and it was the Orb on the Friday night headlining and Primal Scream on the Saturday. And I think that was the particularly muddy, hideous one, where a polypoop extractor reversed its load into the mud. 5,000 litres of excrement joining the already knee-deep mud, which was stage right. It was the start of that road from the second stage to behind stage right of the pyramid stage, where Chris Hannum used to, or Dick T used to have their site office, unfortunately. I don't know if it, actually, there's a thought. Was the location picked? Now there's a good conspiracy theory. Right outside the site manager's office, was the location of the incident picked? There's been absolutely wonderful ones.
What's one of the most wonderful?
I think on the Chemical Brothers, probably the second one on the main stage with the Chemical Brothers, that was because Adam Smith and Noah Clarke had decided to do a really large format projection across the stage just for one segment. We used to do, you know, even back then, which would have been 99, 2000, or possibly as late as 2002, we used to have different surfaces coming in and out for taking projection. It was then, I mean, LED was very much in its infancy. You know, stealth and vanish screens were, you know, fictitious, unheard of things. So yeah, that was good. The weather was fine.
We've talked about your memorable moments at Glastonbury, but do you have any other highlights from your career that immediately spring to mind? Any weird and wonderful gigs you've done in places around the world?
In recent years, a collaboration which New Order did with Liam Gillick, who's a conceptual artist, English guy that lives in New York. And that was really, really great fun. That was great. They had 12 very talented musicians from the Royal Northern College of Music, and they basically deconstructed the songs so they were played by 12 individual synthesizer players rather than by sequence. And it was great fun working on the set, the lighting, everything with Liam, Dave Lawrence, Pete Holditch from Star. He was absolutely great with the structure. And
I believe that was part of Manchester International
Festival in 2017, and then we went on to, in 2018, to do performances in Vienna and also Turin, who were the co-commissioning festivals.
Apart from listening to lots of music, what else have you been doing during the pandemic?
Like many other people, I've been learning some new skills. I've been learning ArchiCAD 24. Great tip for all you guys and girls out there is to take your drawing skills and download ArchiCAD 24. There's architect practices out there that are gagging for drawing people.
What do you most love about your work?
It's why we do it. It's, you know, none of us got involved to be millionaires, really, apart from a few notable exceptions. You know, you try and get something out of every gig. It's the addiction you do it for, the passion that you have. It's why we work the long, ridiculous hours, which people think it's a great daily rate, but if you divide it by the number of hours, the 18 hours that you're working on a working day and the hours you're away from home, it's, you know, it's not a great hourly rate. Everyone involved in live performance, whether it's from standing downstage centre, emanating outwards from that downstage centre in the middle of the stage, everyone involved with it has passion, and that's why, and that has been the sad thing that's caused a lot of problems with people is, you know, jokingly, somebody refers to it as my girlfriend. You know, the mistress, what you do for a living that you have passion for, that takes that part of your life, and when it disappears, we're all left, you know.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Here's hoping that we all get out of this mess as soon as possible and get back to knowing and doing what we love.